Progress is being made fighting a wildfire burning near West Kelowna. Crews are throwing everything they have at the fire from the air and the ground. It's currently about 430 hectares and 0% contained. Catherine Urquhart explains how firefighters are slowly getting the upper hand and the risk that remains.
On the fire lines, flames still cover many hillsides off Westside Road. Even driving past it, you can feel the heat. Firefighters have made great progress here after building and reinforcing retardant lines on the northern and southern flanks, but it hasn't been easy.
Steep terrain's been making it tough to get up there and try and set up some control lines and dig guard around the fire.
Oh, way more, like way hotter. It's a lot busier than we have had in previous years for sure. It's very hot and dry, and yeah, it's pretty aggressive fire activity.
Thanks for what you're doing, you guys. I appreciate it very much.
Their hard work was acknowledged by the Premier, who admitted this will be a very expensive fire season.
We're at $163 million today, over a $60 million budget. We could be at $300 to $400 million by the end of the season if this keeps up.
An evacuation order remains in place for 70 residences. Tom Reimer is among those affected and watching the fire closely.
Today with the wind blowing, you get a pretty good view and reduces the anxiety quite a bit when you can see your house and your boat still there.
So far, no structures are known to have been lost. Firefighters want to keep it that way.
So we have, 3 times the number of crews we had out here the day before. We're pushing some dozer line in, we're burning out fuel. So yeah, we're definitely making progress, and our priority at this point is along the Westside Road, protecting the homes and the values.
Protecting those homes requires an ongoing aerial assault of this fire. 5 air tankers continue to drop retardant, assisted by 2 helicopters and 19 firefighters. Catherine Urquhart, Global News, Kelowna.
Haven't lost a single building yet that we know of, but more than trees are going up in flames, so are profit margins at some companies who went down to a resort just down the lake. They're not even in the evacuation zone, not even in an evacuation alert area, but the power's been out there for 3 days, and when the power went out, the people basically went home. You can never be too ready and dry in potentially windy conditions like these. They're called structure protection units, and they're being parked at the ready in the one urban development that has the most to lose.
So they can be used to make a wet line, which is a sprinkler line against the fire guard, or they can be used to set up directly on structures.
The fire is just over that hill, and with the right winds could easily be upon the homes for up to 1,500 people. It's happened before.
But in 209 it came from behind us, and then it cut down the ridge over here. So they evacuated it because it got close. It depends on the winds, right? You just never know, because right now it's on the other side of the ridge, so I'm hoping it stays there.
Take a look around this otherwise bustling resort at peak season. Prior to Sunday's 2 lightning strikes, this place was almost full. Then the power went out and the people went home, leaving the resort and its owners losing money by the day.
We are relatively prepared for that, and we've been watching different people leave and, taking those precautions, but we feel safe knowing that, people are here having our backs. So
it's tough for everybody, and we're just waiting to see when power might come back. So we're just really toughing it out and helping out who we can.
Gas generators have been the only source of power for a full 3 days now. That makes it impossible to plan anything, like a wedding that's supposed to take place here on Saturday.
You don't quite know when the power is going to come back on, so if you have a wedding ceremony planned for Saturday, you kind of just say we're not sure.
85% of the cottage is full, and they've chosen to depart just because they have no power. So it's a loss of revenue.
The one blessing in disguise is that 2009 fire. It burned a lot of the fuel around this resort, and everyone's hoping it'll act as a natural fire guard should the fire come their way.
An evacuation order and alert remains in effect for the Bolean Lake wildfire. That fire is burning northwest of Falkland. Weather playing a major factor in the containment. This morning, crews were able to make progress as the winds died down a little bit, but Jeremy Hunke explains why some residents are still fearing the worst.
For Stefan, the threat is overwhelming. Not only is he packing his valuables, he's hosing down his land.
Yes, yeah, you got to worry about burning embers on your roof.
Extreme measures after being put on evacuation alert.
I moved to tears. This is scary, you know. If this fire acts like it wants to, I could lose my home, everything. Like I've lived in this town most of my life, so I could come home homeless.
The emotion as the Lake Bolean wildfire continues to burn, just a few kilometers from downtown Falkland, growing to 350 hectares and creeping to within a few hundred meters of Stefan's home.
In the 20-odd years I've lived here, this is the closest fire to town, and it's pretty much the scariest.
The blaze believed to have been sparked by lightning, fanned initially by heavy winds, until it jumped and split into two separate fires, one on the plateau, the other on the slope, putting 24 homes on evacuation alert.
It's steep and it's lots of fire tumbling down, and we're going to be pretty busy in here for a few days anyway.
But amidst the anxiety, relief. Crews now making significant progress, noticing very little downhill movement, while hand lines and guards are holding. News that Larry Martins was hoping for. His Bolean Lake fishing lodge is under an evacuation order. He returned briefly today to see that the danger is subsiding.
It's just awesome, yeah. And it's good at standing.